All right, guys, can we start the session? Am I audible to all of you? Is the voices loud and clear? Yes, perfect. Okay. So, guys, I have some health issues and fever, so I may not be able to continue for a long time. We'll wind up in 30 45 minutes, but still we will cover what all areas we discussed, and the agenda which is given to you will try to cover for the first day. So, guys, we are beginning one of the most important components of our mains preparation. That's answer writing. I've seen many aspirants, they spend months for reading the books and making the notes, watching lectures, and collecting PDFs and all these content. But when the mains result comes, they are unable to understand why their marks remain average. Basically, the reason is very simple. UPSC is not going to reward for what you know or what is there in your mind. UPSC reward what you present in your paper in that limited time. So from my mentees, right, that Rohin, who got 39th rank, Vikas, who got 27th rank, Sachin, clear example in front of you, GS topper, ethics topper, last year, 41st rank, my mentee, you can watch his podcast. What he's saying is answer writing, answer writing, answer writing. 5,000 answers he have written. Look at the, commitment. And then Kiran this year. In fact, there is a connection between Sachin and Kiran. Sachin and Kiran both were attending the UPSC interview last year together. Sachin cracked it. Both were together in the same panel. Then Sachin referred me and my mentorship to Kiran. Next year, he joined our mentorship. He also started writing his answer. You can look at the podcast of both of them. In fact, all of them are almost similar answer writing and how we mold them. And Kiran have written almost 1,000 answers in the gap between prelims and mains, actually. Think about that commitment. And Sonali, 89th rank this year. I'm just talking about those, highest in the top hundreds, right? Or Priya, if you take first attempt itself, she cleared mains, right? 232nd rank. So they all have, one rule: keep writing answers. Answer writing is more important because presentation is more important. Knowledge wise, I don't think that you'll have a problem. So today, it's not about any content. We are going to see what you should actually be doing. So the lecture is all about the art of converting your knowledge into marks. Okay. So I have called, so please excuse me. Now let me share the screen and then I will discuss. So, guys, we have a PPT. So I'll talk about this. Okay. So guys, before we discuss the techniques of answer writing, let's try to understand the basic reality. In fact, many students think that UPSC mains is highly subjective, but I disagree with that. In fact, among all the three stages of this exam, whether it is prelims, mains, or interview, it is very much easy to predict GS mains, right? Probably the easiest one. Why? Because there is a clear structure. What examiner is expecting from you. There is a clear structure, right? You have been given a question, right? And look at the podcast. I'll attach that below this video of all the 5 toppers in the top 100. So they all will talk about answer writing. And they all will stress on one thing. I want to write 16 to 17 high quality answer. I'm not talking about random GS scores or anything. I'm talking about Sachin, who's GS topper. I'm talking about Sachin and Kiran. These are GS toppers and ethics toppers. Kiran improved 80 marks this year in GS compared to last year, and he got into service in the 6th attempt. So that is why I'm referring to these people. So why there is a predictability, and all of these mentees have followed this thumb rule that we discussed, and we followed the framework we have given also 16, 17 quality answers. And for that, we have a framework and we know what the examiner is expecting. So we are not writing anything random. We are going to write examiner friendly answer. We are not just writing answer. We are not writing essay. We are not writing anything for the sake of writing. We are writing for the examiner, right? So what he is expecting, he definitely expecting a proper intro for the question which has been asked, and he definitely expecting the relevant points. We know that, of course, we have prepared, so there is no problem with the content. That's my first assumption. Okay, and then we look at different dimensions, right? Different dimensions we discuss for that particular question, and we definitely have to discuss examples, and then most importantly, presentation, how we are going to present it, and again we have to have the conclusion. So if you consistently provide these elements in your answer, your marks is going to be predictable. And that is why I told you 16, 17 quality answer, 2, 3 average answer, 1 you may not be knowing also, but we'll do something on that as well, right? So your goal is not to write anything, not to write a beautiful essay or anything. Your goal is to write for the examiner friendly answer. Now, before we get into this further, let me tell you what are the biggest mistakes that I have seen from guiding thousands of aspirants. See, the biggest mistake, first and most importantly, you write generic introduction. No one like it actually, right? Many students begin with broad statements. For example, the Vedic period was an important period in Indian history. Vedic period is important, but is that telling anything to the examiner? No, other period is also important. Other period is also important, not just Vedic period. So this is just a broad statement. So never do that. Second mistake that I've seen is no structure. Students start writing whatever comes to the mind, random points, and the answer becomes just like collection of some random thoughts. So this also need to be avoided. We need to have the proper structure. And the third mistake that I've seen is writing everything in paragraphs, right? So paragraph consume time, paragraph reduce dimensions, and paragraph reduce readability also. If you write in points, that is more readable, that is more examiner friendly. And then no headings. That is another mistake. The examiner has to search for your point. You are not giving a heading or you're not underlining. You never make the examiner work. If that is the case, then he won't be satisfied. Remember, examiner friendly answer. Okay, next I have seen is no diagrams in your answer. So even simple diagram that can separate your answer from hundreds of others. You're seeing so many, right? So one simple diagram is enough to make you a different person compared to what others have given. And ignoring time. Students write one brilliant answer and then take a lot of time for that and leave rest of the questions or 3 questions incomplete. So UPSC rewards completed papers. Most important rule is completion of papers with 16, 17 high quality answers, rest average answers. Completion of paper is very important. Now, let's talk about the golden formula. See, when I talk about a good answer, what is the philosophy of high scoring answer? Many people used to ask me. Firstly, quality. Your points should be relevant, right? And then quantity. You should definitely provide enough points. So quality is important. It should be relevant and there should be enough points in the answer and the structure. So answer should have a clear organization, proper connectors, proper flow, and then the clarity. The examiner should understand immediately when he read that. And ultimately, the last one, that is the presentation. Okay, so you need to have the quality, you need to have quantity, proper content, and then you need to have the proper structure and the presentation that include the clarity, that include the different dimensions, right? And also relevance, right? So the answer should be visually appealing also. So headings and also underlining the important points, diagrams we have just before mentioned, right? So when these, quantity, quality, structure, and then clarity, and then the presentation, different dimensions, relevance, and everything, then the marks will come automatically. Okay. So I hope this is very clear. We'll talk about examples and we'll have the enough discussions in the upcoming sessions. Guys, I'm extremely sorry. I don't know whether I'll be able to continue for quite some more time. Yeah, let's now look at the standard answer structure. This is what we are going to follow in the upcoming sessions. So, see, regardless of the subject, whether GS1, GS2, or GS3, or whatever, your answer should follow the structure. You need to have an introduction, and then introduction followed by body, and then value addition, like diagrams and all, and then proper conclusion, relevance. So this structure is valid across all the paper. It's not just for one subject or anything. Now the question is how you're going to write introduction. What is the introduction strategy? So now why I am just discussing about introduction itself is introduction is going to create the first impression, right? The examiner immediately judges whether you understood the topic or not with your introduction itself. Therefore, especially in history, introductions, when we are, if I am we're talking about paper one, GS paper one, history. If you are talking about history, in your introduction, proper timelines should be given, like dates. If not dates, year. I just want to tell you timeline. Okay, so dates, timeline, historical periods, historical context, and various dynasties, important leaders, important events, and the current affair linkage, current relevance whenever possible. So, in introduction itself, if possible, you can mention this means it's very good. So, if suppose UPSC is asking, like, underline the changes in society and economy from Rigvedic to later Vedic period, right? So, what should your introduction contain? Not generic statement, what it is required, what is Rigvedic period, right? And what is later Vedic period, and what timeline are we discussing? And the moment you do this in your introduction, then the examiner understand that the candidate knows the subject. And now the first impression is created. Now he is interested to read your answer. You got my point. So that is how introduction is important, and that is how you need to write the introduction. Now, why facts matter? It's very important. Facts basically create credibility. People used to ask me, is it mains and do I need to focus on the facts? Facts are very important. That create credibility when discussing history, especially dates, important timelines, kings, dynasties, important leaders, historical events. And these facts that actually differentiate a prepared candidate from an average candidate. So when you give that facts, that give that credibility, and that first impression is definitely created. Okay. Now, next point that I want to discuss is about this question decomposition, right? So this is again the most powerful technique. This is perhaps the most important lesson that I want to teach you today. Most students look at a question and start answering, start writing. That's the biggest mistake. Before you write anything, break the question into parts. Now, how will you break the questions? See, if it is 10 marker, you will break into 3 parts, right? If it is 12.5 marker, break into 4 parts. And if it is 15 marker, break into 5 parts. Like one part, you give 3 mark. That's how we have to break it. Now imagine you got a 15 marker. Suppose you got a 15 marker. Now, if you identify only 2 dimension, then you may have to write 7, 8 points under each dimension, right? I hope you got my point. If you got a 15 marker, and if you don't have the 5 parts, if you have only 2 parts, then for each you have to write 7, 8 points. For that, brainstorming is required, and that is going to consume time. You may not have ready-made 7, 8 points, and that create pressure, right? Now imagine the same question if you can divide into 5 parts. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just need 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points. So overall I got 10 points, I'm done. Or 3 points per dimension. Overall I got 15 points, I'm done. So the idea here is the answer becomes easier if you have that 5 parts. Writing also become easier. You don't want too much time for brainstorming. You will not go under pressure. For each part, you definitely have 2, 3 points also. The coverage becomes even broader also, and that shows the depth and maturity also. This is how toppers think. This is how my toppers think, and this is how they have written. That is why they are in top hundreds, whether it is Vikas or Kiran or Sonali or Sachin or Rohin. I am discussing these names so that I want you to be in that next year. So just to give that motivation. Okay. So now the question is, do you need quantity or quality? You need both if you need to score good. If you want to be at that level of Sachin, GS topper, essay topper, ethics topper, then you have to focus on both. Many aspirants focus on quality. Others, again, focus on quantity. but both are incomplete. What UPSC reward is both quality and quantity in a proper proportion, right? You need good points. At the same time, you also need enough points. You cannot, after writing 3-4 quality points, you cannot leave the paper blank, right? So you need quality, at the same time, you need quantity. You need to fill the paper also. You need to give the good points also. So I hope that question is also answered. Now, use of headings. Many used to ask me about this also. This is non-negotiable. Every answer should have the headings. Non-negotiable, guys. Headings is very important. Okay. And every heading you should underline also, right? For example, whether it is social change or economic change or political change or cultural change, right? So what happens is when you're writing and when you're underlying, that improves the readability and that shows different dimension, right? So what is examiner psychology? Let's also try to understand examiner psychology. Always, because we are writing examiner friendly answer. We are not going to write the best answer, right? Every examiner, see, just remember this: the examiner is checking hundreds of copies. Just keep this point in mind. This person is checking hundreds of papers before you also and after you also. So do not make the examiner search for the points. Do not make the examiner think what you have written, right? Serve everything clearly to him. Show everything directly in terms of diagram, in terms of boxes, in terms of underlining, in terms of points, rather than more paragraphs. Make evaluation easy. Make his job easy, right? Easy evaluation leads to better marks. Simple things always work. Okay. Now, the question. Some of you have the confusion always, should I write in points or should I write in paragraph? See, GS answers should primarily be written in points. I won't say this in optional. Optional, you need to be like a sociologist. In fact, that expert, subject expert. But GS answers, primarily you should be writing in points because GS rewards different dimensions. When it comes to optional reward depth, let me make it very clear. In GS, what you want is different dimensions. So if you start writing paragraph, you may not be able to do it. So what is required here? Points. But when it comes to optional is going to reward you depth, maturity in that particular answer. There, you need to write in paragraph. I hope this is very clear. Now that is also solved. So in GS, more the dimensions you give, more the mark you will be getting. Okay, so see, the issue is when you write in paragraph, sometimes the same thing can repeat. You don't have time, you don't have space. You may miss another dimension also. It's a time wastage. You will lose the opportunity to write extra dimension. So therefore, points whenever possible in your GS answer. So that question I have answered. Now, next point again that many people miss. So this I have discussed. Diagrams. Many students underestimate diagram. Even an India map, when you're writing about Indian geography, is going to add value to you. So don't underestimate diagram. If you do that, it's a bigger mistake. Diagrams, in fact, give you a lot of benefits also. Because see, first of all, the first benefit is, it breaks monotony, right? Your answer will stand out. Second, when you have the diagrams, it can be block diagram also. Simple, the concept that you explain, you can show in a block diagram. That improves presentation. That makes examiner job again easy. You're writing examiner friendly answer. Thirdly, that occupies space efficiently. If you don't have enough content, you can fill the space with diagram. Fourthly, in fact, that help in your quick revision also. And most importantly, what I find the important use of diagram is that differentiate your answer. Okay, now what the type of diagrams you can use? See, you can use mind maps. Mind maps will be useful for causes, effects, right? Or challenges, solutions. So here, mind map is useful, and flow charts you can use. So in which scenario, like processes, historical evolution developments, historical developments and governance related questions. You can use that. You can use hub and spoke diagrams. It's basically useful when multiple factors emerge from one central themes. And then timelines. That's extremely useful in history. Tables, block diagrams. That's excellent for chronology, right? In fact, tables we use normally for comparisons. Like this, you will make table, right? Gandhi, Ambedkar, Gandhi, Bose, Nehru, Patel, or Rigvedic, later Vedic, like that. Okay, what about using maps? Maps are one of the most, again, underused tool in UPSC mains. Students actually fear map. There is no reason to fear them. You do not need to draw the entire map every time. Draw only the relevant portion of what they have asked. If they ask about Middle East crisis, only that relevant portion is what you need, right? So, example, you got a question on cotton, for example, from human geography or physical geography. Then draw the western part of India where the cotton farming was there, right? Sugarcane question, related question. Then southern India, that is what the major cultivation zone, that is what you need to draw. Decolonization of Africa. Africa you can draw, right? It's very easy. No need to draw the whole world in that case. So understand the question, understand the context, and for that relevant portion, in fact, that saves time, that increase your mark, that differentiate your paper, and that fills the gap. In case if you have point issue, that gap is getting filled. Okay, so never miss this. We will be revisiting this, and when I'm sitting with you for the answer writing, we'll take care of this. Now, maps, I've already discussed it, only relevant region. Value addition related to history, we already discussed this. Okay, now one more thing that I want to discuss is before I talk about conclusion, I'll also talk about the current affair linkage. It is not there in the slide. See, again, one of the major differentiator in your answer is current affair linkage. Even in history, right? Suppose a question is about Cholas. So you can actually, the question is, can you connect it with Senegal, Rajendra Chola commemoration and maritime heritage discussions? Yes. If you can do that, that immediately adds value to your answer. Similarly, Pallavas, Mahabalipuram, ancient India, archaeological discoveries. So history should not appear isolated. History should connect with the present also. Right? In that way, you again going to enrich. Now, see, most students ignore conclusion. They feel like they have already given when you're writing the point. That's a mistake. You need to have a proper conclusion. Separate conclusion is required, right? That is the, final impression. If the first impression is created with introduction, with conclusion, you need to make that final impression before giving the mark. And there are two types. Is what? One summary type, right? So here what you will do is you simply summarize the answer. It is useful when the question already asks for solution because you've already given in the question itself. Second, that is the best one, in my opinion, if it is an open-ended question, or if the question directly is not asking for solution. If it is asking for solution or relevance, you have already written, and then when you summarize, it's okay. Otherwise, this approach is better. It is useful when UPSC is not asked for recommendations or solutions or anything, and that basically is allowing you to add more value. You can talk about relevance, you can talk about way forward, you can talk about suggestions, you can talk about recommendations, right? Now, let me discuss this ABC framework, right? For difficult questions. If you don't know the answer fully, okay, this approach is going to help you. A, equal to before. What led to the event? B, that is a main event. Like what happened? So just remember before and then what happened, and C is a consequence. What happened after that? Right? So before, now, later. So what led to that event? right? And then what happened? What is that event? And what happened afterwards? For example, let's talk about World War One. Okay, so A, what led to the event? What does that mean? Causes I'm talking about. B, event. What are the events? Major events during World War. C, consequences. So even if your content is limited, still if you follow this framework, you can generate meaningful points. So that basically prevent blank answers also, right? Even with limit, but at least limited content should be there. Now next one is a result framework. Guys, I'll discuss all these in detail when it comes to the actual answers, actual discussion also. So yeah, like result framework, in that it's not there in the PPT. Whenever UPSC asks what were the results, outcomes, immediately think what were the short-term outcomes, long-term outcomes, right? Short-term benefits, long-term benefits. So that simple framework is enough. You get 2 dimensions instantaneously, so that won't be a big deal. Now let's talk about the word limit, time management. 10 marker, if you are getting ideally 140 to 160 words, and you should be taking 5 to 6 minutes. Okay, a 15 marker, it can be 230 to 260 words, right? And it's going to take 10-11 minutes. So your goal, remember always, here your goal is not to be a perfectionist. Impossible. You cannot be a perfectionist in each of these answers. Try to give good quality answer. Try for completion of the paper. This is ultimately more important for us. See, an average answer written is still better than an excellent answer which is left unfinished. Started well, but time limit, you cannot finish. Average answer is much better than that. Or when you write better answer, you may miss another question that because of the time that you have taken. So it's better that you write 2 average answers better than 1 good answer. So definitely, if you need to do this, what you need to improve the writing speed. That is more important, right? Improve the writing speed. And how can you improve that? There are 3 ways. And in fact, 3 settings, three things you have to do if you need to improve your writing. What are they? Revision, continuous revision, because the content need to be there in your fingertips. The moment you see it, it should come out. And question decomposition. So you don't have much time to think during exam. So less thinking during examination. Question decomposition and practice. That's ultimate. I told you Kiran wrote 1,000 answers. I told you Sachin wrote 5,000 answers. I'm not saying. I just told you now in this video. It is told by them. I have seen them. I have seen them closely. I'm guiding them closely. I've evaluated their papers. I am the one who have seen their improvement, the way they evolved also. So watch the PDF podcast. Then if that motivate, if I am telling and you don't feel like listening to that, look at your toppers, what they did. Listen from their mouth. And then you follow. At least then you follow. Okay, so these are anything I missed? Yeah, 10 marker. I told this. So this already I've discussed golden formula for answer writing. Facts should be there, structure, dimension, diagram, conclusion. We already discussed this. Why repeating them? So guys, remember very carefully, UPSC Mains is not a test of memory. It is a test of structured thinking under time pressure. Given time, all of you possess almost the similar content. All of you possess almost the similar content because all of you have cleared prelims and writing. All of you have done the hard work. It's matter of what you do under that time, under that pressure, how you present and everything, right? So what we need is we need a strong intro. Again, I repeat, this is the framework that we are going to do from here, and decomposition of the question, right? So break the question. break it into parts. Break question into different dimension. And if it is 15 marker, we need 5 dimension. So that consider it as 1 dimension 3 mark and 1 point 1 mark. So 1 dimension 3 points 3 mark. Simple. If it is only 2 dimension, I need 7 points 7 points 7 8 points on each dimension. I can't think that at that time, but getting 2 3 points of each of these dimension is easy, and thinking about dimension is even more easy. Different dimensions, right? And always use headings, underline that, make examiner friendly, write in points in GS. That will be rewarding, not in paragraph. Add diagrams, as I told you. I'm repeating all these. Add diagrams and current relevance. And most importantly, to get that mark, conclude effectively. 2 method I've told you: way forward or summary approach. So see, if you follow this, you will automatically you will be ahead of thousands of candidates if you simply follow the structure. So answer writing, there is no such talent or anything. Answer writing is something which you develop, right? Everyone study, everyone have the content. This is a writing skill. Writing is a skill that you develop. And like every skill, you're going to improve. You're bound to make mistake when you start. You're going to improve with deliberate practice. So from today onwards, not tomorrow, today onwards, what you'll be doing, stop merely reading, start writing, and we have 80 more days. Because when it comes to UPSC mains, guys, marks are not awarded for what you know. You might be knowing everything in the world, but if you cannot present that to the person who's evaluating your paper, you're going to get nothing. Marks are basically awarded for what you can present on paper within the given time. Given more time, anyone can do. Right? So that's what I want to cover. Did I miss anything? Use intro, break questions, use headings, draw diagrams, I told already. Practice assignment, that we can do. Practice assignments I will do later. Okay, so any questions, guys? Or let's take a break. I'm also not feeling comfortable. Those who are not attending the live session, guys, we'll be back to you later. I'll post the PDF in the group. So see you tomorrow, guys. Thank you so much. And tomorrow onwards, we'll be start writing the answers. See you guys. Thank you.